The Investing in African Mining Indaba, now in its 30th year, placed focus on influencing factors impacting the mining industry at large. From sustainability to social impact to financing green projects. CNBC Africa's Fifi Peters spoke to Dean Hack, International Banker for Resources and Energy at Absa Securities UK, about the opportunities the mining sector in Africa holds for unlocking more investment.
Maybe just as an introductory question, let's just reflect on some of the key highlights of this year's Mining Indaba for you.
Well, thank you. It's very good to be here. It's been a very successful Mining Indaba so far. I think we've enjoyed it. What I have particularly enjoyed is that when we are walking around and attending the venue and having meetings, it is now extending past just the traditional mining companies. We're meeting mining companies, we're meeting players in the infrastructure sector, players in the energy sector, the trading houses, and we are seeing a big collaboration between all different types of companies that are somehow involved within the sector and involved in the industry, and really all with the intention of coming together to come up with solutions and to push forward mining in Africa going forward.
Do you think that perhaps that level of collaboration and also the invitation of other stakeholders is also as a result of the common objective of decarbonizing all systems, as it were?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a number of factors really that's bringing the collaboration together. The one factor is that there's a number of challenges within the sector and industry and globally in general. We obviously have rising costs, we have the issues of inflation, interest rates, we have certain infrastructure and logistical challenges in the market, and that is bringing collaboration of partners trying to solve these issues together. A very nice example is in the solar development space or the power development space, where you have mining companies and power developers working together to try to solve these challenges and to bring on very large scale projects with both renewable energy and battery storage to try to alleviate that issue. But on the sustainability side, there is a lot that is happening in the market. There's a big focus now on sustainability financing. So the facilities like green loans, for example, which is financing that is linked to very specific development KPIs, which both benefits the company and benefits the community and the area in which these businesses operate.
From a opportunity point of view, as Absa Securities, when you are asked about the opportunities of doing business in Africa's mining sector at this present moment in time, your response to that is what?
Is that it's excellent, really, at this moment in time.
That is a very high ranking, excellent.
Yeah, and I'm happy to back that up, sure. We've seen a number of factors in the market that is really just highlighting the importance of Africa. We have a lot of geopolitical tensions around the world. We have a lot of other challenges that are highlighting Africa as an attractive destination for capital and for investment. A lot of large mining companies are looking to diversify their operations, to diversify their logistics, and Africa is a prime continent for that. What we've done, for example, in exploration, we've seen significant increases in exploration budgets in specific commodities. For example, the exploration expenditure in lithium in Africa is up over 30%. Exploration investments in copper is up over 20% year on year. And that all just talks to a very attractive destination, companies wanting to invest, and in particular looking to invest within your critical minerals.
I was going to say, the minerals that you have mentioned are minerals that of course will be needed to power the transition into the future. But what does that also say about what you're seeing in terms of the kind of activity in more fossil fuel related minerals? I mean, if you're talking about an increase in exploration in the likes of copper and all, are you seeing a decline in exploration in your traditional metals that a lot of these companies are trying to diversify from?
So there is a role for the fossil fuels, and it's an area where I'm not personally involved within. However, within the critical mineral space, we're going to continue to see mining in a lot of your traditional metals and minerals such as gold and platinum, but there's also a big increase in focus in a lot of these transitional metals. As you can imagine, with the decarbonization journey that the world has to go on, we need to look at increasing electrification, increasing battery storage, and that requires minerals such as cobalt, copper, lithium, and manganese. And there's a huge exploration of that on the continent. There's a big focus on that. And Absa has been very instrumental in financing a number of those transactions in various jurisdictions across our continent.
Just if you can just speak to some of the risks that you are looking at and navigating through as a bank, particularly in the medium term.
Sure. So yeah, there's a number of risks, as you pointed out, that are present. And those risks are always prevalent and affect in our transaction to varying degrees at different times. So sometimes inflation will be a bigger concern than costs. Other times interest rates will be a bigger concern, for example, commodity prices. However, the projects that we are seeing come up on the continent are world-class projects that are able to withstand a whole range of different issues. And as a bank, we actively assist our clients to structure deals and to put facilities in place that make sense for the market conditions that we find ourselves in at the moment.
World-class projects. We look forward to, of course, talking a lot more about them as they do come to market. But Dean, we'll leave it there for now. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
External factors that will impact or deter growth within the sector are the current geopolitical tensions. But Craig Brewer, Managing Director and Co-Head of Origination at Absa Corporate and Investment Banking, has a different perspective.
You've written quite a bit about the geopolitics currently at play and the potential impact that they could have on the mining sector, but Africa's mining sector specifically. So just maybe speak to that, the shifts in the global patterns and the global powers more specifically, and what it does mean for Africa's mining sector.
Now, what we've seen over the years is China has, to a degree, dominated in Africa in terms of its, you could say, debt-driven diplomacy in extending money and funds and capital to African countries for infrastructure, for buying their mines, etc. And it's got to a situation where, just for instance, in rare earths, China dominates to the degree that I think they have 80% of the world's processing power of rare earths, which is necessary. And rare earths constitute a variety of different commodities. And in like the very vital magnets required for electric vehicles, I think they have over 85% of the processing capabilities. So that is of concern, naturally, to the USA and to all other European and developed nations trying to do this transition. So what we've seen is America has started to focus on Africa, and historically they haven't been involved in commodities in Africa. They've formed the metals or the mineral security partnership with all the developed nations, that's India, Germany, Canada, etc. And they've also last year been discussing with Saudi Arabia in terms of Saudi's view in terms of its future metals. And what was interesting is about 2 weeks ago, in terms of Saudi's Vision 2030, they had a future metals forum in Saudi Arabia, absolutely packed with investors, 25 African countries represented there. And that's what we're starting to see is the Middle East starting to be active in Africa, start looking at investments, start securing offtakes for these critical metals, as against China just dominating in the past.
Sure.
And you will see that the US is beginning to make efforts to ensure that they themselves have sufficient offtakes and security of these critical metals and are not dependent on China.
I mean, but going back to what Saudi is doing as well as part of its Vision 2030 plan, of course there's the BRICS invitation as well. I'm not too sure where things currently do stand regarding that, but we do know that the Middle East is doing a lot more downward looking into the continent. And to what degree do you reckon in the event that Saudi does join BRICS Plus, could we be seeing a lot more deals happening between the two regions?
There will definitely be deal flow. From what I understand, the BRICS the invite was sent to Saudi, and I believe as of the last 10 days, they accepted. So they're now part of the BRICS community, which is, I think, a very positive factor. In terms of their vision into Africa, it's real and it's present, so it's already started. What I think is very good about the Saudi interest is they are prepared to take minority interests. They don't have to own it totally, and they don't necessarily have to operate it, which is maybe different from some of the other strategic countries when they come into Africa. And from that, I think there's going to be a lot more deal flow. because they bring significant capital. And from that, you'll find that they will back a whole lot of operators in terms of M&A. They'll bring the equity capital, they'll bring the debt capital, and I think you will see a bit of a flurry of M&A activity over the next, I'd say, 9 to 12 months as they start making their entrance throughout the region.
And so now, ultimately, how does Africa benefit from this? Because a lot of the conversations that we've had here at the Investing in Mining Indaba with government officials has been one of ensuring that they get more bang for their buck. They get more value add and processing happening within their corners, and it's not just a matter of extraction and, in their words, exploitation as has been done in the past. Your view on how Africa can capitalize on a competitive position it currently holds?
This whole concept of benefication is you can't just extract the raw ore effectively, put it on a barge or boat and take it to a processing plant outside of Africa. Because if you have to really focus on whether it's smelting, processing, refining, etc., you need to ensure that there's a regulatory environment that encourages that. But the countries throughout Africa must also ensure that there is adequate power, there are adequate skills to be able to perform that. Because what happens is once you process your commodity and you refine it, or you process it further, it still has to be competitive on a global stage. So if you're overpaying for power, overpaying for infrastructure, no one's going to buy your product.
Sure.
So it works both ways. But what is critical is that in these African countries which are resource-based, the benefits are broadened to a lot more people, and it builds for the future, not just a small community whilst the mine exists and then they rehab it and then they're gone. So it's on, everyone's discussing it. We've seen a lot of regulations throughout Africa. South Africa itself has talked about it. The challenge we've got is things like Eskom, which don't benefit that. But that I think you'll find with countries this time around. Provided Africa has the regulatory certainty, the governance, the skills and some of the infrastructure, they will benefit.
Of the shifting global powers, one power, of course, that we haven't touched on is India. And I'd just like your thoughts on India and how you see them, or what kind of space you see them filling in Africa's future in the near term.
I think just take a step back just from Africa. I think India is going to be the new global economy superpower. As we've said earlier, China has some challenging headwinds, and India really has the resources, the people, the technology at times. And we've seen them in Africa. They've been in Zambia, they've been in copper, they've looked at coal. So we will see them come through, but I think they've always been here to a degree, so I think it's more of a ramp up than, say, with a Middle East Saudi, which is a new entrant, if you can call it that.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for that. We'll leave it there. Thanks for the insights. Enjoyed them.
Thanks, Biffy.